Coffee time in the morning and everything is pretty much soaking wet. It's the downside of sleeping in a canyon like this with a water source. Chilly night down in these canyons, and like I mentioned earlier, everything is pretty much soaking wet thanks to the creek nearby. So in addition to just kind of wanting to explore some areas out here and get some trail miles, I'm testing out some new gear here. One of those is I picked up a used Garmin Fenix 6 Pro Solar watch to see how that would work as a tracking device, because one of the issues I've had is I use the phone heavily. So trying to use Gaia or any sort of an app to track my progress on the phone just puts more strain on the battery that I don't want. And I used to have standalone Garmin GPSs, both the GPS map and the now discontinued Oregon series that I liked, but they required, actual batteries like lithiums to be able to use for any length of time, and I just hated the amount of bad trash I was generating. So far, I gotta say, this has worked pretty well. It's really configurable, so I can disable the heartbeat sensor and Bluetooth and a bunch of other things. So it claims I can get about 100 hours of tracking time off of it before I'm gonna have to recharge it. Using it all day yesterday for about 11 hours of hiking, I went from about, 98% to 84% on the battery. So yeah, that's not too bad. Now, last year on the ECT, all I did was I recorded mile markers. It's a lot easier than actually trying to run a track for any really long trip like that. But I do have a couple of things coming up where I'm doing lesser known routes, and I really want to be able to have a GPS track of what I did. God, do I love waking up in a tent. This makes me so much happier than the campground. So this Nemo Hornet has been through the PCT and the ECT, all the sections when Taters was not with me, and then a whole hell of a lot of shorter trips like this. I love this thing. It feels good to be backpacking again. So if you wonder why I've switched back to hiking pants after having been in shorts for all of the ECT and most of the PCT, it's because the next couple of trails, the San Diego Trans-County Trail and the Condor Trail, are going to have not insignificant amounts of bushwhacking, which tend to be hard on bare legs. For the record, I would much prefer to be in shorts. Especially these days, I'm just used to it. I find the pants don't dry as well, and I tend to be a sweaty individual. Also, get spoiled because here's the thing with hiking shorts, you can pee without having to undo your waist belt or anything. So that's looking back towards where I camped last night. There's a good number of pools down here and campsites if you look around. Doesn't seem like it gets a whole hell of a lot of traffic. There's a not insignificant amount of up and down back here. Damn, that would have been the camp to do. There's even a swimming hole there. Oh man, there are so many really nice camp spots back here. Taters and I are gonna have to come back here for one of those weekends where we're stuck around town. I'm pretty sure my route yesterday was along that skyline ridge there. One in the background. So this is what's known as Fisherman's Camp. This is where I'd stayed years ago when I did a Sierra Club trip down here. It does look like it's dry at the moment though. I found a couple of pools, but I wouldn't have been happy if I had to fill here. And for what it's worth, there are much better camps back the way I came. So this is kind of well known because it's trail accessible. It's just a couple of miles and you can get to the road in 3 different places. Tanaha Falls and the Fisherman's Camp Trailhead are closer. And then if you go out this way, you got about 3.5 miles to get to Tanaha Trailhead. I'm gonna do that and then hike on the road for a good chunk of the day because basically I want miles, and if I cut up and just stick on trail, this turns a lot shorter. And the road is like a lane and a half and you mostly just have to worry about the occasional ATV, which hopefully I won't have to during the week like this. There are additional campsites around Fisherman's Camp. It's not just what was down there. Well, you can tell I'm getting close to a trailhead. Okay, it is much warmer this morning. Glad to have a breeze. And welcome to the Tanaha Trailhead, which, per the sign-in register, this is the most heavily used of the trailheads I've been to so far. So I have actually seen them stocking trout before up here, but it always kind of shocks me. So in addition to the bathroom, this place has a pitcher pump. It is really good to be out west some days. I was sitting here for about 10 minutes and everything's completely dry. Okay, and now for the long, windy road walk section of my hike. So that mountain way in the background is Santiago again, the Orange County high point. As you can see, the snow kind of melted off with the warmer weather yesterday. This is part of the main divide. This road will actually go all the way up to the 91. Only problem is once you cross Ortega, you can't legally camp up in these mountains. I have done most of that as a day hike before. So this is the Fisherman's Camp Trailhead. It's the one that's only, I think, like 1.5 miles away from the actual Fisherman's Camp. So I'm now approaching the other trailhead, the one for Tanaha Falls, which, if you look in the background, that's what that whitish rock is. It's not going to be flowing a lot right now, but when it's been raining, it can actually be halfway impressive. Plus there's a swimming hole at the base. So when I was planning this, I actually debated going up past the falls, and the trail connects around Sitten Peak. But I wanted to try and eke a couple of more miles, so I figured I would do this. So I'm basically going to continue taking this road up past Wildemar, Fillwater, and then I think take the Morgan Canyon Trail. So unfortunately, civilization has made it back here. Okay, last water stop for the day. This is actually a campground that we avoid actively because this area is primarily ATVs. So they get kind of loud and rowdy back here. And you really don't want that when you're living in a campground every night. Well, I came back here so I could get water that I didn't have to filter, but since the sign said non-potable, I filtered it anyway. It does have kind of a tang to it though. Ah. Okay, original plan was to walk the road, but there are these ATV trails. Be a bit of a shortcut. Might as well. I don't think I'd be doing this on the weekend. It's usually a lot of ATV traffic back here. Huh. Okay, since I'm short on daylight, maybe I should have taken the road. Okay, so much for my shortcut. Okay, you can just make out that tower from this morning, and this would be Riverside. So that's San Jacinto right there, and that's San Gorgonio on the left. San Jacinto is the PCT. San Gorgonio is the high point of Southern California, 11,000 some feet. Okay, well, usually I try and go for an area that's a little more protected, but can't beat the view, huh? I'm about to lose sunlight. Home sweet home for the night.